All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday, August 14th, 2025. I think, John, your speaker is on because I can, yeah, yeah. I'll walk away from it at the moment, so I'm not picking myself up twice. But yeah, we've got exciting information for everybody tonight from John and in Wisconsin from Jeremiah. But first, we'll go through our intro slides just to get everybody oriented and going and everything. So welcome to everybody who's here in person and folks who are online. Okay, so starting after today, tomorrow we have a lunch on the south edge of Houston down at the Red River Barbecue in League City. And you can see the address there. And we have that starting up at 11:30. And everyone's welcome, even if you're not from that side of town. But we do try to do different events across Houston in different areas. And one of the things, as I was preparing with Jeremiah, who's in Wisconsin, he's saying, yeah, they have a statewide EVA chapter. So they really have a hard time getting folks together sometimes. But so we'll do this tomorrow. We try to do a lunch once a month. And we're going to do another Batteries and Brews. This time it'll be Sunday, August 17th, starting at 1 p.m. And we're going to try a new location, Bohemios, which is at 708 Telephone Road. And again, everyone's welcome to come from all over Houston. And so this is just for a little bit of geographic spreading out. And we just talk about our cars or how we power our cars. There's a lot of talk about that, of course, with changes in getting PV power. Of course, a lot of people say, which do you get first, the PV or the EV, the photovoltaics or the electric vehicle? Some get one first and some get the other first, but an awful lot of people get both, and they really dig into both, like John over here. And so you're welcome to come to the Batteries and Brews on the 17th. And every Wednesday, we invite everyone to either log on to their computer or tune in their old-fashioned FM radio and listen to our Vice President, David Lowy. And he's here in the room, and you can see him there in the studio. And so Wednesdays at 10 a.m., he gets on the show, and he loves to have different people to talk with. So he invites a lot of call-ins, and then he also gets a lot of specialists and folks that know certain areas of EVs. And he does either a short interview or he does a fun little zip and zap radio play. So it's really good to get everybody to listen in on Wednesday. And if you can't listen live, you can go to the KPFT archives and listen to. Oh, or to the YouTube channel to to also archive there. Yeah, because I think KPFT they keep it for just a limited time. So this is good with our Houston EVA YouTube channel, which is of course also if you miss one of these second Thursday meetings, you can dial that up also on your computer. Yeah. So two methods to get to older ones. So we've expanded from National Drive Electric Week to National Drive Electric Month. And you can see the date of our activity there is Saturday, September 20th. And that will be at the Wings and Wheels at the 1940 Air Terminal. So a lot of folks, even if they've been to Hobby, they only know about the new modern terminal, which is on the north side of the field. Actually, there is a historic building on the west side, and they are renovating it as a museum. And they've invited us to come and park some of our EVs in the parking lot. And our Vice President, David Lowy, will be out there first, and everyone's welcome. I've got to ask Emma if she can bring her new EV and pull her trailer out there because she's got a tent trailer that she's shown out there before. And that really excites people because they can see what things they can do with their EVs. So please come on out if you can, and you can see. Yeah, and if you can go to that website, second to last line, driveelectricmonth.org, and that way we'll know who's coming, what cars they're bringing, just helps with the coordination. And they say they have a gift card drawing. Okay, well, a little extra, but I'd just like to point out this photo here that we've got with the antique plane and the antique fuel truck on the right and a very modern vehicle on the left there. And that was the fun we had last year. So they actually got us to allowed us to bring that vehicle out onto the ramp. So this is, in other words, no fences between you and the runways where the planes are taking off. And that's very unusual for airports across the country, but they have special permission because they keep everything very well controlled. And so it's fun. You can do that. And then Sunday is another event. This one's coming up on September 21st, and it's at the Lutheran Church, as you can see there. And it's going to be, I guess, celebrated worldwide. And just everyone can converse with other folks and ask questions and so forth. It's talking about solar and wind power. And of course, a lot of folks, they're interested in how their EVs are powered.
They invite us.
And they invited us. Yeah, this is not an event that we're behind as the originator, but we're going to be there. Yeah. Okay. And then Electrify Expo's up in Dallas this year. I think these are the photos from when it was in Austin. And a number of our members have gone in the past. It's a real fun time. And as you can see there on the left, it's not limited to EVs that are four-wheelers. There's a lot of two-wheeler EVs out there as well. And of course, a lot of our members are interested in ones with no wheels, i.e. boats and airplanes and things like that that have gone electric. But yeah, a lot of fun stuff at the Electrify Expo. And of course, we encourage everyone to join the national organization. You can see there some of the benefits, and you can join through our website, houstoneva.org.
This is, they sent you the, yeah, I'm not sure I can help you with, but the national is promoting the 10K EV ride. So the idea is that you take your friends out for a ride in your EV, and you take a picture of it and you log it, and then you get enter it into a drawing to win a prize. And they're trying to get the thing that changes people's minds about EVs, we all know, is driving one or being in one, experiencing one. And so that's what they're trying to encourage. But she sent you some stickers, right? Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, those are ones that we can give out. So anyone who's interested can get one of these stickers. They were mailed to us in the snail mail. And so this is fun to get more people out into cars. And it's still amazing. You find neighbors and others, they've never been in an EV before. So invite them to come on out and experience one. So, and thinking of other things to experience, on the table up here, there's some flyers that talk about different models of EVs that are out there. So these are some of the stickers if anybody's able to give a ride to someone, and then they could document it. So, ready? And what's our next slide, Colin? One sheet. Oh, yeah, just what I was just mentioning. Those pages are right there. And they tend to grow old very quickly because new models are coming out. So we encourage people to take these because we get these from National and they're constantly being updated. And the comic book as well. Yeah, yeah, that's another fun way to spread the word. So if anyone is good at Instagram and would like to help us out, that would be fun because we're all just a bunch of volunteers. And as I already mentioned on the KPFT radio show that David Lowy runs, if you'd like to be a guest on that, you can mention it to him tonight or contact him through the club. And of course, presenting topics like what we have John doing tonight and such. We'd love to have more people come. So. And here at TXRX, there are different opportunities. You can talk to maybe Bill or some of the other folks that are out in the lobby and so forth, because we appreciate them letting us use this space for free every month. And then this is a fun piece of equipment. You may have seen one of these advertised in one of the national magazines, but we know someone here in Houston who got a hold of one of these used, and it's very unique in that you don't have to do any wiring or trenching. And so if you know of a commercial location that would like to be able to provide charging and make it easy, this is available for purchase. Okay. And that takes us through all of our pages here. So Bill, did you want to mention something? You want to come up right now? Bill's one of our members who's always likes to spread information with everybody. let me call that up.
No, I have a container out back, a 20-foot container with solar where I charge my electric vehicle. And I just added 12 more panels and got it going a few days ago. It was interesting. I bought lithium battery packs, 5 kilowatt hour, 2 of them, and 2 inverter charger units from a place that accepts returns from a company called EcoWorthy. And I was having trouble making it work. Finally, I read the directions and everything's fine. And I would say if anybody is interested, John has some EG4 battery packs. I have some out back. They're 5 kilowatt hour. If anybody wants to, I bought this equipment at 40% discount. And if anybody would like to have me get the equipment, no charge, I'll be happy to do so. The other thing I wanted to mention, they're putting in a large battery farm in Baytown area, and they want some people to go to a city council meeting to be advocates for battery electric, huge battery farms. And if anybody wants to do so, Dave or I can give you the date and time. I think is it on the 19th? It's on the 19th in the evening. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Doesn't want to send the photo over at the moment. We'll see about getting it later. Okay. Any other members want to talk about things, either folks in the room or John online or anybody have some words of progress on their conversions or anything? You want tell us? Yeah, we love hearing about what folks are working on.
I just got my first electric vehicle, a Chevy Bolt EUV. So week after that, I drove to Minnesota with a trailer behind me. So worked out. That was interesting. Like 80 miles range, more than 250. It's a bit draggy, but took my leisurely time back, went through like Arkansas and such. So they work. I mean, a room full of converts isn't really the easiest to
Okay.
You drove through Arkansas. You drove home. You drove through Arkansas. Did you have any trouble finding recharge space?
I didn't have trouble using them. Those require downloading software.
Sure.
I use more fireworks miles on this trip, but that's it. So, yeah, the charge stations frustrated me with the pretty well mandatory download their software and set up an account. I did a lot of 10 to 30-minute phone calls to try to get stuff going. At one point, I ended up completely dead somewhere, and the person called the cops on me because, what's an adventure without trouble? So, yeah, no trouble getting the chargers to work, and like 99% of them were good to go. So,
Thank you. All right. If we're ready then, John, you want to come on up and we'll get you.
Well, is it still bouncing north?
Okay.
Okay, we're good.
Okay.
Here's the mic. All right. Well, hi, I'm John Merritt. I'm the CEO and founder of Retrograde Motors. I haven't done a presentation in like 20 years, so we'll do the best we can. Uh, so we'll start with me. I'm a designer at heart. I've been doing graphic design and video games, comics, toys for about 20 years. Worked in oil and gas, video games. We run a company called Tentacle Kitty, where we do stuffed animals and comics. And we do conventions all over. So that's kind of my background, and we went from that to just kind of fiddling around with cars, and started off with um, started making concept cars for Tesla and sharing them online. And it's a combination of like AI and Photoshop, and going back and forth, kind of like if you imagine a collage, then that's kind of how it worked. Started posting these up online, and everybody seemed to love them. And I started making some retro style stuff. I was like, all right, well, let's see what we can do with this Cadillac. So it's a whole process. It takes several days to make some of these. It goes from like one bit here, one bit there, and going through rearranging Photoshop, adjusting everything. But ultimately it comes out and turns out starting from one thing all the way down to what I'm trying to design. And everybody got really excited with these, and then two and two went together, and I started seeing things online. All the new EVs. We got the new Tesla Model Y, and we got the new Nissan Model Y, and the new Chevy Model Y, and this thing. I was like, this isn't going to cut it anymore. As we're just going to end up with cookie cutters, and well, frankly, nobody's going to buy that other Jag thing. So someone told me, hey, I'd buy this a heartbeat, but there's no company out there that'd make it. So back in March, I started it. So the idea behind it is that we're going to start building electric cars with modern tech, safety standards, that everything that you would expect for modern tech, but make it classy, make it from based off of classic designs from 1930s to 1980s, and bring those back, but instead of taking old cars and rebuilding them, we're starting from scratch. It's kind of the idea. We started back in March, and started it up and started putting things together. And yeah, of course, I started working with the all the basic concept stuff, but taking a Photoshop, AI generated, project, you can't just convert it over to 3D. It just doesn't work. So had to start building these out in 3D, and started looking to different options for how to fund this, how to actually make the cars happen. And without going and like pulling all the assets from my other companies to try and make it work. So I'm really good at doing Kickstarters. We actually have like the top 3 most funded plush Kickstarters on the platform. So we're pretty skilled with it. So I was like, okay, well, let's try and do a Kickstarter behind it. Thinking what the idea is that I'll start to build the speed forms very similar to what Tesla had, and try and offer those as a incentive to start to promote the Kickstarter, and actually talk about it that, yes, we're trying to build a car company from crowdsourcing. And yeah, the idea is we'll get through it with that, and if everything works out, we'll start processing prototypes and start construction while we're dealing with fulfillment. And if everything works out, I'm hoping to have the first one built by 2027 to show off at the Chicago Auto Show. And after that, obviously, start getting enough talk about it, we'll start looking at Series A. So the prototype options, there's a couple different ways I was looking at this. Obviously, there's a guy here named David Andreev, and he's a carpenter. That's his day job. But he figured he wanted to make a car, and he kind of followed along with somebody that said, I read books. And It's Elon Musk. So he started off, he got himself an old Model 3. It's not quite as well conditioned as that one, but there you go. And he started building up a frame, building up the body, and he built himself a car. Took him over a year, but he got it done. So I figure if a carpenter can build up a car from scratch, why can't we start a prototype? Of course, the other option is that we go through, and there's enough manufacturers out there in the U.S. that 3D print body frames, or they can supply all the motors. There's a company out there that it's a giant robot arm thing right here. It's actually a forge, and it pushes pressure against stainless steel and more or less 3D forges it as it goes. So it can allow for a lot more complex designs and shapes that normal presses can't do. So either one's an option. I think probably the cheapest solution is going to be pick up a Model S and just start building and go from there. But obviously with the option 2 and 3D printing and all that, you're building a long-term scalable solution. So it would be a little bit more expensive, but doable. So that's kind of where we're at. And I guess it's time to kind of show you guys what I have. So sit down here for a second and see if I can get this to work. Oh no. So let's see if I can get to the next page here. Oh, I guess the music's done now, and it didn't play. That's okay. So we got the retrograde flux, and obviously it's based off of DeLorean. There's of course 3 other different car companies out there that are trying to do something with DeLorean. There's literally a company called Next Gen DeLorean working on the Alpha 5, and doesn't look like a DeLorean. And they got the DeLorean Next Generation, and they don't have a name for that one. And then there's the Lynx DMC EV, and that one just looks like a DeLorean. So this one was just an evolution of the design, and a little bit of mix in with some Cybertruck and some Countach, and there you go. That's kind of the lead there. This is the Retrograde Elite. This one, I'm actually trying to work on getting a license with Tesla for full self-driving. I'm actually talking to some of their engineers right now. And if it works out, I'm hoping that this could be kind of a luxury version of the Cybercab. So it would actually have full self-driving and, pick people up, take them down to prom or, red carpet events, whatever you want to have. Then there's a 59, and I'd say it's just basically for cruising. But yeah, having the 1950s style seems kind of fitting. And everybody's kind of 50-50 when it comes down to the Cybertruck. Either one, you love it or you hate it. So bringing something that's a little bit more classic for the trucks, but still have all the EV power. I think the retrograde flatbed should do the trick. And really, who wouldn't want a retrograde stallion? Fast little sports car, but coming back from the 1967, to multiple different styles. But yeah, and then of course we had the Volkswagen Buzz. Didn't turn out quite right. Reminds me of something that you'd get probably from Nissan. So the Retrograde HV should do the trick, and you should have enough room for travel and vacation. So That's what we got planned out. The first one's going to be the Flux, and I'm going to try and build up the prototype for that and have it ready for Chicago Auto Show. But the only problem I have is I'm not an engineer. I can design all day, but I need more people on my team to be able to help and fit the design into a safe and reliable EV. But yeah, that's all I got. That's Retrograde. That's what we got right now.
Thank you for the lights. All right. So good. It looks like more folks have come in since the lights went dim, and great. Always good to see more folks in the room. So that is really exciting, all the stuff that you can do. I mean, it's just amazing looking at those images and everything. So, so questions from folks in the room or from folks online?
In the Elite. Oh, yeah, I've been talking to some of the engineers over at Tesla, and they're particularly interested in the Elite and seeing if that's something that could be licensable. So, yeah, I haven't talked to legal yet, but it's got to start somewhere. I think my favorite one is I would absolutely love to be working on something like that.
Yeah.
And that's coming from engineers that just finished working on Cybertruck.
Right. Okay.
Other folks in the room?
Anybody? Question?
So how did you get started in all this? What inspired you to go after designing new cars?
Frankly, just started off with trying to learn new technologies, and when AI generation got to the point that I could start to use that as a part of my art style, then it kind of expanded from there. And then once I started building up the retro style stuff, everybody seemed to pique their interest in that, and I just gravitated towards it. And it was like, nobody's going to build this. I've got to do it if I want to happen. So yeah.
Good, good, good. And I was going to ask if AI had entered into any of your thoughts and everything. So you already answered that. So Colin?
From Robert online, with any new business in technology, there is a technical hurdles to overcome. And should that happen, then there is the commercial hurdles to overcome. What is the estimated market with consumers willing and able to lay down money on premium vehicles like these?
Actually, I had that data with me the other day, and I don't have it with me. But long story short, like one of the things that I was worried about was, it's like building a prototype is easy, but scaling is hard. But one of the things that encouraged me is that Tesla's already gone and started with all of the hurdles, all of the problems that EVs started with, and then Elon's literally like, yeah, if we have a patent, go ahead and use it. We're not going to sue you over it. Please use our tech to grow this industry. So, if nobody else is going to do it, might as well be us.
Good. Okay. So other folks in the room? Because we've heard Elon make the statement before, building one car is easy, building 10,000 cars is hard. Yeah.
So what is your Kickstarter?
The Kickstarter is the idea that we want. The idea behind the Kickstarter is we want to build a prototype, and in order to do that, we want to see if everybody's interested in doing that, and we'll start offering more or less merchandise or memorabilia, really, that's saying, hey, I was in on this when it first began. Like, I helped make this company happen. Yeah. So it'd be first idea is the speed form that Tesla has, is that we would do another one for our versions, our different cars series, And then, there could be other things, but I think that's kind of like the primary thing at this point is, I talked about doing a die cast, but that in itself, like die cast models, like the cast for it is $100,000. So it would have to be a Kickstarter in itself. Okay, now we have these die casts. Now let's see if we can build the prototype. And that just it's not the idea. So yeah, if we can build, think about doing like metal 3D printing. There's a couple of different companies that actually print in metal and will polish it up and all that. So it would actually be, a pretty substantial piece that they would be able to offer for people.
And how do we find you on Kickstarter?
Well, at first it would just be through retrogrademotors.com. And then you can follow on the newsletter there, and then we'd be able to start, showing it off. But once the campaign starts moving forward, like we'll be able to start pointing people towards it. Yeah.
I'm curious, how did you get the ear of the engineers at Tesla?
I actually just sent them a message on X. Like they're really active on there. Yeah, if you're looking to get a hold of anybody at Tesla, that's the way to do it. Like I even gone through LinkedIn and emailing them, but X seems to be the place to go if you want to try and get in contact with them.
So you're saying that they have an open-minded attitude, because a lot of places you write with a suggestion for something and they say, we cannot take exception, suggestions from anybody, so don't bother sending us a suggestion. But you say they have a different attitude?
Definitely seems like it. Yeah. Like, I know that they're already, talking to several different companies. I mean, I know obviously they were talking to Ford, and then that kind of fell out on Ford's side. But I told them before, it's like, I'll take their space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, are you targeting the Chicago Auto Show because of the date? Just to set a target, or?
Yeah, just basically
there other-
setting a deadline. Yeah, it's like, and Texas, the Chicago Auto Show is the largest auto show there is. So if you're looking for exposure and the ROI on setting up the booths, having the largest show is definitely the way to go. Cool. Good.
Okay. More folks with questions in the room, or? All right, that's exciting stuff, and glad that you could come on out. Let's see what else Robert has written down here. With public support often sporadic these days, will this have to be full privately funded, or is there any opportunities with state or local governments similar to Tesla with California and Texas in the feds?
Yeah, actually, there is some. I've been looking into that. There is a number of government grants that are available for American-made manufacturing that people are really starting to try and push forward. Unfortunately, they're not available until closer to November, but yeah, I'm definitely keeping an eye on those. Good.
Well, I just want to congratulate Emma on selling her car to Ken.
Yeah, we make connections sometimes with vehicles. Someone buys a new vehicle, now they've got one that they need to sell, and it's great that it has worked out with folks within the chapter here. Yeah, definitely good that you brought that up. Yeah.
So does that mean you're retiring the Sprite?
My car. And the Hyundai would be for my wife to drive. I'll have the Sprite. It needs a little bit of TLC. The motor's got to come out of it and have a little bit of work done, but we'll have two now.
Yeah. Well, she's gonna love it, I know.
And the reason why the Sprite is somewhat apropos for your organization, anyone who's ever seen a photo of a 1959 Austin Healey bug-eyed Sprite, and of course the bug-eyed is referring to the headlights, and they're fantastic cars the way they were built. You don't need to change anything that you see about it, but of course you can improve them by changing the drivetrain, and Ken has it as fully electric. And so, yeah, and he's let some people drive around the parking lot here and everything. I mean, it's a great vehicle, and the looks of it. I mean, you talk about the 1959 Cadillac. I mean, I would put this right up there because the 1959 Austin Healey bug-eyed Sprite is really something to behold, and it's red. Yeah, so real eye catcher. So it goes right along with how you're looking at the retro aspects, but modernizing things in your case. Yeah, yeah. So very good, very good. Okay. Anything else anyone would like to bring up for John? You're going to stick around? We're going to have a second speaker and everything. So good. Okay. All right. Thanks, John. Okay. So our second speaker, Jeremiah, as I said, is the president of the Wisconsin chapter. And I don't think I haven't seen him log on here yet, but I know that he had some timing conflicts a little bit. Oh, there we go. All right. Yeah, yeah. So here everybody can get an idea of what one of these bug-eyed sprites looks like, and with its big smile across the front. I mean, they did an excellent job with the design there too. And so just like our John here is doing a great job with design. I mean, back in 1959 or the years before, however long it took them to come up with this design. And so that is really good. Thanks, Colin, for yeah, yeah. I mean, just it's also red. Yeah, Ken's is red, just like this photo.
Yeah, so the question was, where are the batteries in mine? So the batteries that I have are in the form of a split pack. I have 2/3 of it in the rear compartment behind the seats. There's not really a trunk there. There is no deck lid because that would have made the car a little less rigid. And then the other third is up front where the engine had been. So I've moved some weight toward the back. I still need to get it out onto the truck scales and see what is the front to rear distribution, but I think it's a little further back now than what it had been when it was stock. So you're doing wheeling? No. No, it has all of the safety features of a 1959 Austin Healey Sprite. So no, I'm not doing wheelies.
Well, we know that Jeremiah was talking about like 7:30 or so he'd be available. So, but of course, we can always ask the Sweet Brothers. I know they've always got stuff going on. No? Well, I know I can ask you, Eric. Since we talked about PV photovoltaics before, has your house fully recovered from the tornado that took the PV off? And I remember you showing a picture, wrapped one of the PV panels around the bus stop down the street. I mean, talk about, you know, what can happen with the forces of nature.
Yeah, so we're doing it in phases. And the first phase was to get solar up on the back patio and on the shed.
Okay.
The new shed and the new patio because they were destroyed. And that actually restored the solar to the level that we were before.
Oh, good. Okay.
And then the next phase was to put in a battery backup system, new inverter, and 2 batteries, about 30 kilowatts of power.
Oh.
And that was working fine for a couple of months, and then the inverter went down, and so I'm waiting on Signature Solar to switch me out and get me back going again. And then the next phase will be to put solar on the roof itself that was torn off, and that'll bump me up about 50% more than I had originally.
Okay.
Which will be nice because, you know, like these cloudy days we've had recently, makes it really hard to stay, you know, run the air conditioner and charge the car and run the pool all at the same time and not be hitting the batteries. And you want to charge your batteries too. So it's kind of an interesting exercise in, do you want to build right to the line, or do you need to overbuild it, and by how much?
Mm.
And is that really a bad thing? Was it bad design, the first design? So yeah,
So-
the
so-
more money you throw into it, probably the better.
Yeah, I think that's true of a lot of things. I have a question specifically regarding cloudy days, and it relates to compared to a direct sunny day at noon when the panels are pointed perfectly at the sun at just the right time of year so that the angles are all just so at 100%. What are you seeing typically on a cloudy day? What fraction of your expected output do you see on a partly cloudy day like what we've had here in Houston the last couple of weeks?
So I would guess, even though I look at it almost every day, that it's about a third,
About 30%, about a third.
about
Okay.
30%.
All right.
Of course, the sun comes in and out. And
It's an average, yeah. But-
the arrays are at different angles, and that matters more than you would think on a cloudy day. It would spread it out more evenly, but it's a substantial hit, to the point where on a blue sky day when it's super hot and everybody's miserable, that's the air conditioner's running fine and there's power to run it. On a cloudy day when you're getting a little bit of relief, it knocks the power down enough to where you kind of wish it was just blue sky.
So you really need about a 3-to-1 ratio between your power demand and the peak power output of your array if you want to be able to run without drawing off of reserves or drawing off the utility.
What's made it complicated, when we had net metering, it averaged for the whole year, and that took all the bumps out of it. And now what's making it complicated is we're looking at all the bumps. You have high power days, you have low power days, and then you have a household that seems like it runs with a mind of its own, and you need to supply that. And so, and it's not terrible to run off the grid a little bit, but the goal becomes, let's try to not run on the grid at all. And if you're going to be, if you were to say shut off the grid or, build a place out in the woods, yeah, you would really want to overbuild it. You got, and just waste power, I guess, if you have extra power and no, right. Or have loads that come on and off So the future is going to be an inverter that can manage your batteries loads, your house loads, your car load, and then have other loads that it can activate. So it'll centralize everything, because that's what I'm doing right now, is running around and going, okay, let me turn the car off, and that's just not the future.
When you design a system like this, you got to look at an average year, not an average day. On a cloudy day, the air conditioner is not going to come on as much, so you don't need as much power. However, if you design it for the average of a year taken from the amount of sun you're going to get that year, then you've designed it for the year and you don't have to worry about the day to day. If it's 1-to-1, buyback and payoff and all that over time.
Well, if you've got the battery storage to,
You don't need it.
all right.
You don't need it. I didn't have batteries for the first 5 years of my system. And if you design it for your amount of electricity you use over a year with the rated power that is made from a cell with you have a certain number of hours per day average over the year that you can design to. So it's not that you have to, go 3-to-1 or figure that out. You just design it for that particular spot on the earth that's going to get an average amount of power for the year. So there's a way to do it that works without having to guess.
Yep.
use on your system?
I was just gonna say, Jim's experience compared to what Eric just described.
Yeah, thanks. I've had an EV since 2015, solar panel since 2017, and backup battery since 2019. And one interesting event that occurred is I recently looked at my production from my panels, and I used to plot it every monthly, add another cell into the spreadsheet, and have the graph advance one more unit. And I let that fall aside. I wasn't really paying attention to it. Then I went back to it. I said, I don't think I'm getting the amount of power I should be getting. And when I graphed it out, I found out, wow, for about 6 months, I've been underpowered. Something's wrong here. And when I looked into the website of the company that makes the IQ6s, about a third of my inverters were down. And I had no idea. They don't alert you. So just a word to the wise, check your system at least monthly. And on the initial webpage for the inverter system, there's a little box that says system is okay or not. So you can just bring that up, look at that particular indicator and say, oh, I guess everything's okay. If it's not okay, you can look at the map of your rooftop or wherever your PVs are installed, and you'll see the ones that are active will be in some shade of blue. The more they've generated that day, the brighter the blue. But the ones that are dead or connected to inactive inverters will be black. So it jumps right out at you. So that's just a lesson learned for everybody in this room that has solar PV on their roof.
Right. Good that people can learn from each other. I mean, that's one of the things that we want to do. You just never know what experiences others have are going to help you out. Yeah. So, okay. So Colin, you wanted to show some photos? Because this will be fun, because we're not sure exactly when Jeremiah will be available in Wisconsin.
John Atwood, I think one meeting showed some slides from Electrify Expo, and I'm going to show some of mine. It's from last year. So this Electrify Expo was in 2024 in Austin. And this year it's in Dallas. But just to give you an idea of what's there, they had when you first walk in, they had a dirt track where you could have some fun. They took you out in a car, and my video may be a little iffy here, but they would take you out in the car and zoom you around on a little dirt track. It was fun. There he goes. This was a Mach-E. They had a 1,500 horsepower Mach-E that you'll see some video of later.
1,500 horsepower?
Yeah,
Whoa.
it was, I think they went through a stack of tires.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be buying the tires.
Mostly is what they did. Let's see if I can get out of this now. Let's see. Then they had manufacturers were there. Toyota, Ford. I really, and this is kind of an interesting idea. They put monitors all the way around that TV. Somebody's going to do that. You're going to see that somewhere in Houston, somewhere. Lexus, Porsche, Volvo, GMC, and this is the Hummer, or this one up here is the Hummer. I was very curious about that. I like the way it was designed. It's I kind of like it better than the Cyber. And the Rivian. Oops. Lucid. Tesla's only been there like 2 years. That was a bit of a surprise. That's some of the cars that they had lined up there. They had lots of electric bikes. This is also going to be iffy. There we go. Maybe. I didn't test this behind, but first, yeah, they have scooters. Lots of electric bikes. And the big deal is that you can test drive all of these. You can test drive cars. I did a couple of cars, and I got to do on the Circuit of the Americas track. This is some racing, high performance racing that's happening with electric cars. That was one put together by UT Austin. There's a lot of, these I call them kids because they're, way younger than me, but they buy a car and they immediately have to change it, make it their own. And that has to happen in the EV world. And it is.
Oh, that goes right along with what John was showing us. I mean, designs that make a vehicle someone's own. They're not the mass-produced designs.
Yeah. A solar boat, but there was marine there. There's that classic Porsche. I love that thing.
And a DeLorean, yeah.
And a DeLorean, yeah. And I really like this one golf cart. Look at that thing. That's a golf cart. It's an expensive one. I like that thing.
Well, you talk about personalizing. I've heard down in Florida, there's some little retirement villages and stuff. They have some really well personalized golf carts in those areas. And
yeah, it's a thing. So this is where, you can get in a car and that, they just have lines of people going out and test driving. It's one of the best places to test drive by far. You won't find more cars. Your problem will be, can you test drive all of them? This was just an odd van that they built out as a camper. These are shows in several that have. So Dallas is May 24th. Actually, that's not right. That's an old map.
This is old. Okay.
Yeah, because the next one is actually in November. But that is it for me.
Some people are looking into having an event here in 2027.
Yeah. We've been a couple of Tesla managers, Evolve, and a couple other are lobbying to get Electrify America to come to the Houston. Why not? And Dallas and Austin. I mean, Austin has a Circuit of the Americas, but we've got what, NRG, I guess.
True. Yeah.
It's directed to Ken, if you can.
You see a chat from Ken or for Ken?
Well, the comment from Robert Sanchez referring to the bug-eyed sprite, he said, hideously cute, laughing out loud. And then, then after that, Robert Horton put on the comment, I have some portable scales that could weigh the sprite. So I just, a couple of people can pick it up and put it onto his scales, and you could find out then what the weight is with your batteries and everything. Yeah. So yeah, Robert Horton loves getting in under the hood and under the frame and everything about cars and working on, making things the way he wants them. And one of the things that he gets into is called the 24 Hours of Lemons, which is kind of a play on the name of 24 Hours of Le Mans, the city in France where they've been having, 24-hour road races for a long time. And so he and some of his friends like to take a car cannot be worth more than $500. And so it's obviously you're not starting with a very good piece of equipment to start with, but then you bring it up to speed to be able to race in the 24 Hours of Lemons race. And the only thing that's not limited is on safety equipment. So you can spend money to build the roll cage and other types of things that you'd want to do for safety in a racing car. But as far as the car itself, you're very limited in spending money on it. Therefore, it's going to remain as a lemon.
So if I recall correctly, you could spend more. You could try to cheat, but someone may decide to claim that vehicle and give you $500 and you get to give them your car.
Oh, okay.
so you
That
probably
would be a
don't
way
want-
to
yeah.
enforce it. Yeah, because I've wondered about enforcement mechanism because, yeah, certainly lots of people are going to try to, get the best car they can, but they don't like that
But
dollar.
don't cheat by too much.
Yeah.
Technically, it is a claims race, but I've never seen anyone actually claim it. It's only the organizers that can claim.
Okay.
And we have a car.
You can
There's-
show it to us right there in your garage, Robert. Wonderful.
And there's the other car.
Yeah, he's got two cars there.
So the current team is composed mostly of women who cornered me in a room and said, Robert, we need to learn how to do this.
And you just froze up, Robert. Okay. So we heard you say that there's a team comprised mostly of women, but they brought you on because they wanted you to help them
Says
out.
she now does her own plumbing repairs because of the confidence we gave her with tools.
Mhm.
So what I'm working on today is fixing the Lotus suspension and replacing the shocks.
Replacing the shocks. Okay.
Yes, this has been a 5-hour journey just for today and a day yesterday too.
Yeah. So as you can see there, Robert's got a sizable garage. So that really helps in working on all kinds of car stuff. Jeremiah just texted that he's going to be logging on shortly. Yeah. So I will call up his PowerPoint. So yeah, that's great to see you out there, Robert, in your garage.
Since we're waiting around. So this is a very rare car, at least in the United States. In Australia, it's made by some part of Ford, but it had a Mazda motor. So it's, I think, from 1991 or something like that. Front wheel drive, but uses a Miata engine. And came out the same year as the first Mazda Miata. So who won? Well, you see a lot of Miatas. You don't see very many of this car.
Ah.
So that makes it valuable in Lemons racing culture because then it's extremely odd and no one's seen one before. But someone gave us this when they left town, and so far it just occupies space. We took the engine out and we're going to rebuild it at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so much of cars, whether they're gas or electric, as far as the drivetrain, have so many similar systems and parts and everything. So a lot of folks, of course, cut their teeth on internal combustion engine cars, but then a lot of them also get excited about EVs. So that is good, Robert. So I will see about sharing Jeremiah's presentation. So when he gets on, that going to come up on the screen in the room. I see it on my screen here. Okay. This is just one slide from his 19 slides that he's got, but I thought this was kind of interesting. Notice the state on the license plate on this L car. And remember, Jeremiah's up in Wisconsin. So for those that can't read the fine print, it says Texas on that license plate. Yeah. But all kinds of fun. And it says this one dates to 1975. So. And I guess Bill's not here anymore because he does also have some vehicles here available. What are the names of those little trucks, Colin? Do you remember? Yeah, so if someone is wanting to get their hands on something electric here and learn about it, the possibility exists with Bill Swann here, one of our longtime club members. And so he got either free or very cheap these older electric vehicles, and so people can get their hands on them. And this image from Jeremiah kind of reminds me of it. Kind of looks a little in that vein. Mm-hmm.
You can still buy that little EV. You know, oh yeah. The trick is if you buy, I think 4 or 6 of them, then bingo, you get the wholesale price.
Ah.
But you have to buy. That's like the minimum. So somebody did that, and then they stored them in the back here, and they've been sitting for years. And
there's Bill now.
Bill, yeah. I don't know if that's anything's changed with the miniature trucks.
If you want to come up to the mic, because I'm just comparing what Jeremiah has. And so I mentioned you've got the opportunity with those little mini trucks.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah, no, well, we had agreed to perhaps pay the man for a nominal something,
Okay.
but they're still in the back and available. $4,000. I could, after the meeting, we could walk over there and look at them. They're low-speed electric vehicles, 25 miles per hour maximum.
Okay.
I think 50, 60 mile range, and with big boxes on the back to move stuff. You know, ice cream, potato chips, whatever. If anybody wants to see them after the meeting tonight, speak to me now.
Yeah, so for folks that are here in person, there's an opportunity to see some of the hardware and get an idea of what you might be able to do with it. Because it's always good when people can, in a way, recycle, earlier made vehicles and make them roadworthy again. So in this case, you said they're low-speed vehicles, so limited. With radio and air conditioning, how? But just a single seat. Okay, so for what it's got, that sounds pretty good with air conditioning. Yeah.
For whatever reason, gave up on selling them.
Mm.
In the rear to the lab.
Okay, so he gave them to the TXRX labs. Okay, so that's how they got them. All right. Good, good, good. All right. So, yeah, it's always good, as I said, to hear about these different projects. I know that John Atwood has been making progress on his projects. So that's always good to know. Of course, a lot of our members nowadays just switch to buying OEM, original equipment manufacturer EVs, since it is really good, of course, that there are so many now on the market. I mean, when I joined this club in 1994, it was almost exclusively people converting vehicles that had been ICE vehicles, maybe with a blown engine. Although there were a few innovative companies, because my first EV, which I bought in 1995, had been built, or I should say modified, by a company called Jet Industries. It started out life as a Dodge Omni hatchback, and Dodge built them, but without engines. with the transmission though, with a manual transmission. And so what the Jet Industries did was that they then equipped the vehicles with the motor, the controller, and lead acid batteries, because that, of course, was the chemistry of the time. And so another aside is it's really exciting how many different types of chemistries are being discussed out there now, sodium and aluminum and other bases besides lithium. And of course, lithium is a really big step up from the lead acid.
I changed topics on you.
Okay. What you
I
got?
wanted, we had Kalyani with CIFRA come did a presentation to us
Yeah.
last year.
Uh-huh.
And her website is now live, and
Oh, good.
it's all electric vehicles. What's unusual about it is that it shows you the incentives, which not going to be around that much longer, but on the state level, and it will also figure out that, and I think she's got an unusual approach. I like vehicle to load stats are in there. Charging capacity is in there, which I think those are going to be more and more interesting. So if you're looking at, and it's only EVs. So if you're interested in, check it out. It's got some a pretty good different approaches, I think.
Okay, good to know that her website is live.
Yeah. She's been working on that for a while. CIFRA, yeah, SIFFRA. Yeah. There's Jeremiah.
All right. Very good, very good. So,
All righty. Sorry, everybody.
hey, Jeremiah, good to see you there. Yeah. So, yeah, everybody has lots of adventures in their lives, so we understand that. Yep.
Yeah, just made it
Oh.
home. So, all right.
So if you like, you can send your slides, through and change them yourselves. I do have it called up, although maybe it just froze. I don't know. Let me see if I can get there it goes. Back to I had it on the third page. Now I'm back to the first page.
Yeah.
So can you see that, Jeremiah?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd just like to start off mentioning to folks that I met Jeremiah when I was up at the Midwest Energy Show in Custer, Wisconsin a few years ago, and we had a great time chatting and everything. And of course, every chapter has their own point of view of how things are. They've got their own weather conditions. You can imagine Wisconsin's a little bit different than Texas. And so, yeah, we just wanted to, when Jeremiah had a chance, have him talk to us. And so I know that we're going to have questions for him, but I figured we'll start with your presentation if you'd like to do that, Jeremiah.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, I am Jeremiah Brockman, president of the Wisconsin chapter of the EVA. Yeah, and like Dave said, I met him in Stevens Point, just outside of Stevens Point, a couple years ago at the MREA Energy Fair, which is sadly no longer happening, at least not every year. But yeah, I guess we can. Do I click or do I ask
Just
to go
let
on
me
to the
know
next
when
slide?
you're ready to go on. Yeah.
Okay, next slide, please.
We'll see how long it takes between slides here. There we go.
All righty. So yeah, just a little bit about myself. So I do have an MA in history, and I put that on here just because I really like the fact that anybody can join the EVA, and it doesn't really matter what your background is as long as you're passionate about EVs and you want to help spread the word. So that's really the main reason I put that on there. And I have been the president since July of 2022. We got into EVs in 2017. We actually came from Dieselgate and took that money, turned around and bought a Tesla Model S in 2017. And then from there, we wanted a little bit more range. So we got a 21 Model Y. And then we actually had a 2012 Model S because it was the cheapest one you could get at the time, which was crazy that it was like $30,000, and now you can buy one for like $9,500. It's crazy, but since then We got rid of that for the truck that you see in the picture there. That's kind of my daily driver. And then our other car is a 2019 Chevy Bolt that is blue. And yeah, we love both cars. We've loved every car we've had. But yeah, that's sort of a brief about me. So let's go ahead to the next slide.
We've got a few Chevy Bolt drivers in our club here, but actually, I'm not sure anybody in the club here driving a Silverado EV. I don't see anybody in the room, and we can chat about that some more later. But okay, good to know what vehicles you got.
Yeah, so this one, I kind of wanted to throw this picture in there because this is an edited version of a presentation I did for the University of Wisconsin Extension in Ashland, which is way up north on Lake Superior. And I thought you guys might get a kick out of this picture because it's got a Texas license plate. But pictured there is a 1975 model 1000L car. And you can see the guy plugging it in there. But just to give you a little background about what we've done since 2022, I've done several National Drive Electric Week events. We've had other chapter members who've done what we call pop-up events, where you just kind of show up with 1 or 2 cars and you do like an hour, ride and drive type of a thing. And then the 2 MREA energy fairs, one I met Dave at, the next one we had a Cybertruck that drew a huge crowd. And then we have, I'm trying to think, Marshfield, several small towns around where I live in southwestern Wisconsin. We've crashed several classic car shows and gotten all kinds of guff and, given it right back and that sort of stuff. So, and then this year is our 2nd annual road trip, which we did last year for the first time. And it actually starts tomorrow this year. And so this is just a fundraiser. It's meant to be fun and kind of, it's a cruise around Wisconsin in electric vehicles only, no hybrids. And then I guess other things I've done is just sort of, conference presentations. And we've had, I've had chapter members come with me to various things along the way. And it's kind of been sort of a team effort. And then you see there, we got the 2024 Chapter of the Year award in the North. And of course, my chapter members were like, "That's yours." And I was like, no, we did this together, but it is on my desk. So I will pass that along to them if they will take it. Anyway, next slide.
And that's great to hear. And our vice president, David Lowy, was there at the national meeting. And I remember you, because I watched it remotely, that you got the Chapter of the Year North Award. So yeah, congrats again on that.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think I was the only one who did not give like some sort of speech. I had just I meant to prepare something, and then I was just kind of on the spot. I'm like, no. So, but yeah, so this part, I'll kind of breeze through this because this is probably very familiar to you guys. They're in Houston. You probably do most, if not all of these things: education, outreach, advocacy. The one thing I do want to mention is this sort of right in the middle, EVs versus plug-in hybrids. And I guess we can save that for a question for later, but I'm always curious what other chapters do, because I've sort of had disagreements with national folks about whether or not we should be promoting plug-in hybrids. My personal belief is, if it uses gasoline at all, we shouldn't really be. I mean, obviously it's better than, gasoline cars environmentally and all sorts of other ways. But I think, to set ourselves apart, I personally think we should just be promoting electric cars, but I'd be curious to see what you all think of that. So that's really all I wanted to touch on this slide. So we can go ahead to the next one.
Okay.
Okay, so then here's some basics of how life is in the Northwoods. That's how we say that, the Northwoods, up here in Wisconsin with our accents, our Uber accents. Anyway, range is probably the biggest thing. In the winter, I always tell people plan on losing about half your range, but really it's more like a third. That way you get to wherever you're going and you still have a little bit of buffer. Let's see, I'm just going to move this thing because I forgot what I wrote here. So then the plug-in hybrid thing here. Yeah, we do not advocate hybrids, as sort of a general rule. I mean, again, I'm not like super strict about this. Like if I have chapter members who are, fans of plug-in hybrids, I really don't, tell them to stop talking or any of that sort of stuff. But let's see. And then the hybrid electric vehicle one, the most common thing that I hear up here, especially in rural Wisconsin where I live, is my next car might be a hybrid because I don't know if I would have enough range to get around. And then you kind of dig a little deeper, and I'm sure all of you have experience with this, but you dig a little deeper, and it's like, well, most EVs will do all of what you need. So it's, I mean, it's a common thing, but it's something that I kind of fight with also. And then we do have other, types of cars, but it's really uncommon for sort of, hydrogen, biofuels, that sort of stuff. It does happen, but it's really more Milwaukee than anywhere else in the state, I found. Madison is that's where our biggest, one of our second biggest population center is. And that's where the most EVs in the state is the Madison area. So we can go to the next slide. All right, this one I'll just breeze through quick because I'm sure most of you will know this stuff as well. But environmental benefits, obviously EVs are way better. Even in a cold state like Wisconsin, it's still better because, and the thing I like to say, I don't know if you guys have experience with sitting in your driveway and warming up your car in the winter, but you just start it, and for half an hour the car has to warm up if it's a gas car. So it's really, you're saving, because you don't have to waste your fuel with doing that. So then that kind of leads right into the cost. You guys all know about the maintenance benefits and that sort of thing. And then I just want to mention the 90 versus 40 versus 20, which is something I like to talk about because EVs, as I'm sure most of you know, 90% efficient. Plug-in hybrids are about 40% efficient. And then, of course, gas cars are about 20%. Go to the next slide.
Okay. Yeah, we saw that downward thumb vote behind you there for the gas cars.
Yeah, for gas cars. This is my oldest son, and I have definitely brainwashed him that EVs are better. So,
Yeah. Good,
yeah.
good, good.
Okay,
Yep,
bud.
we love seeing families involved. Yep.
Yeah, go ahead. Thanks. So then, yeah, what EVs don't do well in Wisconsin, long distance towing, except the truck that we have, the Silverado, even the the lower range models, because of their huge battery, great range, awesome charging speed, it really does well. And then refueling quickly, as most people know, you pull into a charging station, you probably have to unhook your trailer. Even, and then in the cold, you potentially have to wait for your battery to warm up before it will start charging. That's a big thing. There was a big story in Chicago, actually earlier this calendar year, about people in Teslas having to pull into a supercharger and then they have to wait half an hour for the battery to warm up before it even starts charging. So it's that sort of thing. But even in Wisconsin, that's pretty much the list. Like, they do most things for most people most of the time really well. So let's go to the next slide.
Good.
And then, yeah, so that snow is probably the biggest consideration. Ice is a little bit, but honestly, we combat that with salt is the most common thing. I think it's close to table salt, but it's not quite the same thing. And that's the deposits you see on the car pictured there on the right. That's a salt deposit on your car, for those of you who don't know. And that's just from driving around, it gets kicked up and then it gets stuck to the side of your car. But then, yeah, having a heavy EV and having a slippery road, it's not really a big deal if you give yourself enough time to sort of slow down, and give yourself enough time to stop. And, I've actually, let's see, I'm trying to think. I've been stuck more times in my gas cars than I've ever been stuck in any of our electric cars. And really, it's only one time ever in our EVs that I got stuck in the snow. Oddly enough, it was our 4-wheel drive Model Y when we had that one. So let's see what else. And then the preconditioning the battery is really important for us up here. So basically, what you do is you pull up if it's Tesla or Chevy or whatever, you pull up your app, start the heater, and that gets electricity going into your battery. Hopefully pulling from your wall charger. And if not, it just pulls from its own electricity and helps to precondition the battery. And this is important, especially for DC fast charging, because the battery has to be warmed up to a certain level before it will, start accepting any charge at all. So that's why you see things like people having to, go to a fast charger and then they plug in, and then the battery has to warm up before it'll start accepting a charge. So, okay, we can go to the next slide.
Yeah. Since I realized I wasn't in full screen, it took me.
Okay.
Okay. Now I went. Okay. From this slide, we go to this slide. Yep.
Yeah. All right. So these are the most common questions. The biggest one is always range. I don't know if that's, kind of the same thing that you guys deal with down in Houston, but, especially up here where it's, it gets really cold and people are really worried about getting stranded somewhere and not having battery, there's not enough range, especially in the winter. And in my experience since 2017, we have never run out of electricity. It just takes a little more planning. And then the next big thing is, where do you charge it? And so I think the stat is like 90%, 80 or 90% of people nationwide charge at home. But in Wisconsin, fully a third of us rent. So it's, for those people, it's a little more difficult. And I often hear it kind of thrown around that if you can't charge where you live, don't get an EV. And I could kind of see the argument for that in this state. And then the next one is, they're too expensive. This one it used to be kind of true, but it's anymore. There's so many great used EVs, and they do really well up here in Wisconsin in the cold. And then of course, I'm sure most of these you guys have probably all heard as well, especially the environmental ones. Can a coal powered car really be better than a diesel truck? And it's like, well, yes, it is. It's it's about a third of the emissions, or 2/3 sometimes, depending on the car. And then of course the most common one is you can't road trip one, and that's just like every other, it's just not, most of these are not true. So
Yeah. Going back to the second to last point, do you have a good amount of wind power on your grid in Wisconsin?
So I actually just looked this up. Well, this was about 6 months ago, so it might be a little outdated. Wind is not really very prevalent. I think it was like 2% of the grid in Wisconsin anyway. Natural gas is about 30%, and then coal is like another, yeah. So it's natural gas is 30, coal is about 20%, and then there is just various other biofuels, and some municipalities burn trash for, I don't know how that works
okay.
exactly, but that's another option. Now, our neighbors to the west, Iowa, they have like 60% of their grid is wind power, which is impressive.
Okay.
So
Okay.
and then not enough range. Most I'm trying to think if there's anything on this that would surprise anybody who's watching here. I guess if you don't know, I guess I will just highlight this. The average American daily commute is about 35 miles a day from the DOT. So most EVs, most of the time, will do, all your driving and then some, even in Wisconsin where it gets cold. So we can probably kind of breeze through this one. This one this is a really nice slide. I like. I added this specifically for you guys because most of us charge in our garage. So you can obviously charge 120 or 240. Like I said before, about a third of Wisconsin residents do rent, and there's no financial incentive for a landlord to put in a charger. And of course, tenants don't want to pay for it because they might not be there in a year or two. And then of course, road trips, they can be a little bit more difficult, especially when you get up to like the Ashland area, which is at the top of that quick trip photo there. But that's kind of the breakdown I've got listed there of the chargers within the fast chargers within the state of Wisconsin. Tesla is just kicking butt. Electrify America's they used to have two. It was Milwaukee, and I think over by like just east of the Twin Cities. And then that was it for the longest time, but they've added a few more. And then this bottom one I want to highlight is Quick Charge. That's a gas station / convenience store that's got all these red highlighted places: La Crosse, Mount Horeb, West Salem, etc. They're kind of an up and comer, and they are really they're really piggybacking off of the Wisconsin Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Plan that was passed from the bipartisan infrastructure bill under Biden, that really kind of helped with all the funding for these fast chargers. And so all the green ones are where they had plans submitted, and the Trump administration came in, and many of you probably know, just shut down the whole program. So there was a freeze on funding that just opened up. So all these green dots on the map that you see here are theoretically going to be built here, unless somebody changes their mind again in the government. But yeah, right now it's Tesla's far and away, and of course most of Tesla's superchargers were put in place before the national infrastructure bill that kind of incentivized these companies to build out this charging infrastructure. So we can go ahead to the next slide.
If it's going to cooperate here, let's see if I. Okay.
Okay. And yeah, this one this one is probably pretty close to like nationally. It's it's probably the same for you guys as it is for me up here, except for maybe that last part, the charging costs. And you can see the various types of great used EVs out there. Like we bought our Chevy Bolt was used, and we just bought it actually this calendar year in February, for about $14,000, and brand new battery, because they Chevy had to replace all the Bolt batteries because of fires, and so that's all been we got the upgraded battery. But if you look at gas where I live in, PDC stands for Prairie du Chien. We're right on the Mississippi River with Iowa. And gas is about $3.05 a gallon as of, when was this? I think I put this in last week, 8/8, it says there. And so that is a great question. Robert, how's the tariff going to affect the state of EVs in Wisconsin? That's a great question. I'm not entirely sure because we don't have, except for in the Appleton area, which actually, Robert, you shared this with me via email, but Rivian's putting in some facilities up in the Appleton area by Green Bay, Go Pack Go. And so I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if anybody really knows, but I fear it's not going to be good. And well, don't get me wrong, there's probably people that know the answer, but I'm not an economist. I'm a historian, so I don't really know. Sorry. Yeah, and then I like this bottom line is great because it just shows the difference between the cost to charge 4 cents a mile, something like a Tesla Model Y versus where'd it go? 4 cents a mile for a Model Y versus, oh, am I thinking of a different slide? I thought I had 17 cents. Oh, it's right up above there. I apologize. My brain is not working, you guys.
The 11 cents per mile, right?
11 cents a mile. Yep. For a gas car, for prices in Prairie du Chien here. I don't know what are gas prices like down in Texas. I would assume with it being kind of oil country, it's better, but I don't know.
Yeah, we've got refineries nearby us, and so $2.50, $2.70 a gallon, something like that.
Okay.
You get to a corner where there's less competition, it might be $2.95 a gallon.
Okay. Yeah, and for a little bit last summer, even up here, it was like $4.20 a gallon, $4.10, somewhere in there. And in summer, I don't know if this happens down there, but every summer up here in Wisconsin, gas companies or gas stations jack up their prices, 25, 50%, sometimes. I mean, that's in a crazy case. Usually it's just like, $1 or, which is still a lot, don't get me wrong, but yeah, gas prices go up in the summer.
Okay. So yeah, they're anticipating more people are traveling in the summer, and so they're going to get it while they can. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, we can go to the next slide. This one's pretty simple. Are they better for the environment? Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think just in case anybody hasn't seen this is the greenhouse gas. That's what GHG stands for, greenhouse gas emissions between an electric vehicle over its lifetime, including the battery production versus a gas car. So you see at first it's, the EV is more polluting, but then you look at 74% of a gas car is, it's from the tailpipe. So eventually the gas car is way worse. So but yeah, that's just in case anybody hasn't seen that. Okay, we can go to the next one.
Okay, there it is.
And this is another great, so I mentioned earlier, 90%, what did I say? Yeah, 90% efficient for EVs, 20% efficient for gas cars. And this is where I get that number from. Basically a study from from Yale Climate Connections and the federal government from a few years ago. This is probably not accurate anymore because I think this graphic is from 2 or 3 years ago, and EVs have just gotten more and more efficient. That's kind of been their trajectory since 2012, at least, as far as I know. So it's probably even better now. But as of a couple years ago, this is where you get most of your efficiency from this sort of thing. So
Yeah, I like how the graphic shows it. Yeah, because we know the numbers, but just knowing numbers, it really takes an image to show you.
and then yeah, I like wind and solar. Of course, you can run your car on that. I'm sure most of those of you who have an EV and have solar or wind, you totally understand. I would love to get to this at some point, especially solar. We're just not quite there yet because it takes a little longer for it to kind of pay off up here because the sun is not as, it's not as plentiful up here. But yeah, we can go to the next one. And then yeah, this last I just wanted to kind of share with those of you who are kind of on, if there's anyone in this group who's on the fence about whether or not you can road trip an EV. The answer is yes, and this is all the stuff that I've done in EVs. And this bottom one here, or excuse me, the bottom one of the first bullet point from Prairie du Chien, we just went to Rochester in our Silverado, which it took us 7.5 hours and we did not have to charge. We stopped to go to the bathroom twice, but we got there with, I think, 12% battery from our house in Prairie du Chien. So, and then, yeah, there's all these YouTubers, Kyle Connor, which if you haven't heard of him, Out of Spec is fantastic. It's not just him on there anymore, but yeah, there's tons of great people who do stuff on YouTube with road tripping and stuff. So, all right, we can go to the next slide.
Actually, I can't say that I've heard of Kyle Connor, but I'm glad that you mentioned that the organization president Lane did the Southern California across the country trip. Yeah.
Yeah, she did that. That was when she's no longer the president, but I think the former vice president, who's now the president, went with her on 1 or 2 of those trips. But yeah, it's obviously it can be done. And then yeah, I just want to mention briefly here our Wisconsin road trip fundraiser. This is open to literally everyone in the country. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to a Canadian, but I just don't know any Canadians, I guess. And then, yeah, this is our second year doing it. Last year was in August as well. Only electric vehicles. And then it's just a road rally around the state of Wisconsin, and we do various fun things. Last year we had a couple car shows along the way, and then we had sort of a concert at our final stop near Madison. And then this year we're going to have some live music, and then we're doing a brewery tour. And what's the other one? We have a facility that's actually owned by a chapter member of ours here in Wisconsin. It's called Hoffman EV, and they convert.
They convert. All right. Glad to hear that. Someone with a conversion business. Something went out on your end? We can see you, but we can't hear you.
Sorry, we got smoke alarms going off. 1 second.
Ah, that's a purposeful muting. Okay, you're just trying to save our ears. All right. Okay, okay. Yeah, we don't want to see someone's house burned down. That's a very true statement. Yeah. But seeing all the text that he has on the slide there, I mean, that's really good. The entertainment, music, and comedy. And then, of course, you mentioned the brewery tour. That sounds really exciting. So it's always good when someone can get something that's brewed locally. And then, yeah, the scholarship, I was just reading that. It's about sending Wisconsin residents to any school that will teach them EV repair. Yeah, so we need to get that taught to more of the younger folks as the quantity of EVs on the roads goes up. Got to keep them running. Very important. Yep. Yeah, so it really is just a coincidence that their road trip is starting tomorrow. Of course, our meetings are always set for the second Thursday of the month, except for December. So for people that aren't familiar with it, in December, we'll have a social at a local place in Houston in place of a second Thursday meeting.
Okay, very sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
It's just technical difficulties, whether it be the computer or, yeah, I guess I'm not meant to talk to you guys tonight. I don't know. So yeah, where was I? Oh, so yeah, we got brewery tour, and then our final stop is Hoffman EV that converts gas cars to electric. That'll be the end of our tour for this year. Next year, I'm hoping we do a little bit more driving. This year, it was not, businesses weren't as willing to participate necessarily, so it kind of altered our route a little bit. But this event is, I just want to mention this too, because if any of you are Houston chapter members and or you come up to Wisconsin in August, this is open to every EVA chapter member. You get in for free as part of your membership. If you're not a member, the fee is $100, but that automatically gets you into get you a free 1-year membership to the EVA or whatever chapter is closer, or excuse me, the Wisconsin EVA, preferably. But if you live in Houston, you get a free, membership to Houston. So, and there's other things we're working on for next year. We're trying to incentivize, because it's, obviously education is a big thing that we do. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to get people to bring people who don't have experience with EVs. So we're working on some incentives for that. We'll see what happens, but it might involve some dealers loaning cars. It might involve people who have 2 EVs. We'll see. And then I was gonna say one other thing. Oh, the main reason that we're doing this fundraiser, or the main purpose of what we're doing with these funds, is to fund our scholarship program, which will send Wisconsin residents to any school or tech college in the country that will teach them how to repair EVs.
Very important. Yeah.
So, all right. Yeah, we can go to the next one. Okay. So yeah, here's me. There's my official, well, I made it up on Google one day, but it's the most official email I have for the Wisconsin EVA. And then there's our website, and then that also is the road trip planning website that I put details on for the road trip. And that I update that at least once a month. When planning gets really going, it's more like once a week. But yeah, then there's the EVA Wisconsin chapter is us on Facebook, and then we're also on Instagram. So yeah, with that, I'll open it up to any questions, and hopefully we have no more smoke alarms go off.
All right. Well, that is really helpful. We really appreciate that. And yeah, now I've got the chat back myself. So, and so we've got comment here from Robert Sanchez about the Anchorage, Alaska. Okay. Yeah, so just both states being northern states having more or less, I guess, similar winters. So yeah, he's talking about heaters for the ICE engines. And then, is this the part that you had referred to already? How's the new tariff war going, affecting EVs?
Yeah. Actually, now that I think about it, Robert, this is not tariff related, but this might answer a different question. Because we've had a couple lawsuits, and Robert, I'm assuming just based on your, breadth of knowledge with, sharing stories and how kind of tuned in you are to other places in the country, but we've had lawsuits between Tesla and the state of Wisconsin trying to get direct sales here.
Oh, really?
I currently don't know where that is at the moment, because there was a loss. I was actually on Wisconsin Public Radio back in June to talk about that. And at that point, it was kind of just going through the system. There hadn't been any hearings yet or any of that sort of stuff. And then as far as, what else do you have there? Tariffs with China, America, Canada. Yeah, I honestly don't know the answer to whether or not the tariffs are going to be good or bad for EVs. I really don't know. Hopefully there's somebody in the state of Wisconsin that's better suited, and maybe I can ask them. And then Robert, I have your email, so I can follow up with you and or Dave, and then maybe you guys can, if you want to spread that, those
Yeah,
data points.
Yeah, the politics keep getting involved with a lot of things. So I didn't realize that Wisconsin was one of those states where what you call a dealership and where they're allowed to be open and so forth was affecting EVs. That's good to know.
Yeah, because we have, I mean, it's basically a dealership law where you have to, car dealers can't, or car manufacturers can't sell direct to customers. It has to go through a dealership model. And that's, the viewpoint from our, I don't know if it's different for your chapter, but from our standpoint is, if you want to give people more choice, and it's supposed to be freedom of choice, shouldn't we be able to buy directly from a manufacturer if we want? So, I don't, and that's the organization standpoint, but I believe that as well, because it's.
Yeah, we've seen that in various states where you hear from some people in a state and they want the freedom of choice and doing things, and then other folks say, well, but the dealer association is really strong and we're going to bend to their will and we're going to, do things the way they want because they don't want the competition.
Yeah.
And I think even Ford was trying to do EVs with a direct sales model, but then I think they had to back off of that, or because they were getting such feedback from their dealers saying, hey, we're the ones who sell your cars. Ford, you sell the cars to us, and we dealers will sell them to the customers and service them and charge them for the service and so forth.
Is that when Ford kind of got in a little hot water for all the insane markups that they were doing? I think that was nationwide. I don't think that was just up here.
Probably involved in that. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but then of course, just in general, the news nationwide announced by Ford is that they're going to revamp how they do assembly lines and really try to bring down the cost of the Ford EVs. So, the head of Ford was putting out a graphic. Instead of an assembly line being just a straight line, the assembly line will merge various sub-assembly lines to make a final vehicle, and that should be more efficient. So hopefully anything that brings down, of course, the cost of EVs makes them more accessible to people, which we like. Yeah.
And it seemed to me that Ford's platform, that one that you're talking about, is very similar to the Altium platform that GM has, where it's kind of a skateboard design on the bottom. I could be wrong. Maybe I was.
No, I think they have something like that for what they want to come out with at a lower cost and therefore a lower sales price. Yeah.
Okay.
So, and put various types of tops on that skateboard to make various vehicles to address different market segments and so forth. So yeah, we'll see what force. I think it's like Kentucky or something is the location where they really want to be building a lot of EVs. So, but yeah, you mentioned, of course, across the other side of Lake Michigan, what's going on with the Ultium and the battery factory over there and so forth. So things, but yeah, if somebody'd like to wave their hand in front of the light sensor, if I look like I'm in a dark room, it's because our lights time out after a while, or and yeah, it in some ways it's good because it allows the people in the room to see the screen better. In other ways, like when we want to pass a microphone around so folks can ask questions, it's better to have the light on. So do we have folks that want to ask Jeremiah some Wisconsin-based questions? Cheese questions or beer questions?
Here, yeah.
Yeah, because yeah, every state's different in you know, how people are affected by what's offered on the EV market and so forth. So one of the things, Jeremiah, that you'd mentioned was about PHEV, plug-in electric hybrid vehicles, and I'd like the data that you showed on different slides there. One data point I remember, I'm sure it's outdated by now, but back in 2011 when we had a Chevy Volt with a V, it came out and it had a decent, like about 45, 50 mile range before the gas engine came on, which is more than some of the earlier PHEVs that could go maybe 8 or 10 miles or something. And as you showed up there, 35 miles or something on that order is what a lot of people drive every day. So a Volt that could do 50 miles with no gas engine coming on met quite a few people's daily driving. And the statistic that I remember from back then, because basically at the time that that Volt came out, the Nissan Leaf was the only full battery electric vehicle that you could buy. This was like 2010, 2011. And the statistic is that because people would be afraid of driving too far on the range that the Leaf had, even though it was much more than 50 miles, it wasn't like the ranges you can get cars now. People would limit, say you needed to do 3 errands. Well, they may only drive 2 of those errands because then they're afraid they're not going to have enough charge and they'll come home. Whereas with the Volt, a lot more miles were driven electrically for the typical Volt owner than by the typical Leaf owner. And it's because when you have the Volt, even though the 50-mile range is less than the total battery range of a Leaf, people knew that they, even if they had to drive the last mile on gasoline, they knew they could get home. They could accomplish all 3 of their errands. And so the statistics showed that more electric miles were driven with the PHEV than the full battery electric that was available at the time. So I'm sure things have changed by now because ranges are much better on average, of course. But I just thought that was a pretty amazing statistic at that time because it has to do with, you know, you got to judge. You obviously want to get home at the end of running your errands or going to work and back and that type of thing. And but I do also remember at that time, we talk about the term range anxiety. There's the term gas anxiety for those of us who had Chevy Volts with a V, because we wanted to drive, you know, get everything you wanted to done, but you didn't want the gas engine to have to come on. You wanted to get home with at least a fraction of a mile left in the battery. So it was the opposite of range anxiety. It was gas anxiety. Yeah. Anyways, enough of those kinds of stories. So in your club there in Wisconsin, you have a certain amount of interaction with your other members?
I think I mean, it's mostly email just because we're kind of spread out. We're statewide is the chapter. Right. We did have somebody over in the Milwaukee area that thought about opening or starting his own chapter.
Oh,
which I am totally for. It's, you know, especially I think Wisconsin has like 6 million people and I live in a town of 5,000.
okay.
So it's definitely something I'm open to, but to answer your question, it's mostly been email. Otherwise things like the MREA Energy Fair, I went to with a couple chapter members. And then certain, you know, like the classic car shows I told you about, I went to with other chapter members. So it's just, you know, little here, a little there, and then mostly email. We don't do a lot of virtual stuff. And then I'm trying to think. We're trying to get a sort of conference type thing going with Recharge America.
Oh,
That's
good.
been sort of a slow project, but hopefully that'll get more people kind of, in person meeting and talking about EVs. But yeah, that's the majority of our correspondence.
Okay, good. Yeah, actually, I hadn't even thought about it, but yeah, the biggest population center being Milwaukee. Yeah.
Do you send students to Hudson Valley Community College for their EV programs?
Hudson Valley, I know about Fox Valley. I'm trying to think where Hudson Valley is.
Well,
In
this
New
came up
York.
at the national meeting, right, David?
Oh, New York.
In New York, the National Educator of the Year is involved at Hudson Valley, runs the program for EV mechanics and EV charger mechanics as well, which he says is quite a big area that they cover since there's so little to do for the cars generally in maintenance. But there's a lot to do with broken down EV chargers, or
yeah.
building chargers, and they have degree programs in that there. If you're not familiar with Christopher McNally at Hudson Valley Community College in New York.
Okay. And yeah, now that you said that, that does, yeah, I do remember hearing that at the national meeting. And yeah, so as long as it's for our scholarship program, as long as it's a Wisconsin resident, we'll send them anywhere in the country, or we'll help them pay for it. It all depends on how much funds we can raise and how much we have in our chapter account. But there's also talk of, I'm trying to think, there's other chapters, I can't remember which ones. But, for example, Wisconsin will do EV repairs, and then, let's say there's a New York chapter that wants to send people to school for charging equipment, and there's one in California that wants to send people, so there's multiple like pods of national of EVA like scholarship programs that we're trying to get started, and Wisconsin is one of those. So I think it just depends on which chapter, but yeah, specifically for us, it's the only requirements so far is Wisconsin resident, and then if they want to repair EVs. So yeah, I think they would. We haven't let's see, next school year will be our first year giving out a scholarship. So we haven't actually sent anybody anywhere yet.
Okay. Good. Yeah, it's good to get people involved. And yeah, glad that you brought that up, because I hadn't thought about, the chargers are the things that we need to keep in good repair. And yeah, there's so many stories, of course, of people traveling and not having good luck with chargers and such, that getting young people educated on the repairs, not just of the vehicles, but of the chargers. Yeah. So, okay, question over here. Yeah.
There was mention of losing like a third of your range in the winter. I was wondering if the cycle life on the battery still works out to be the same.
For the most part, it does.
Okay.
It doesn't. I mean, it might affect it a little bit, but it doesn't seem to be a lot. I mean, it might be like 2% kind of thing. But yeah, because it's it's still that whatever percent to wherever you stop, like that that whole I forget what they call that little jump that you're doing, whatever it is, whether it be 70 to 80 or a bigger one like 20 to 80. That is more the consideration than cold, it seems to be.
Okay.
So
I got the impression that it's voltage, the extremes, and like heat.
yeah, and actually so in the summer is great for range. But really the best time is spring, and then followed closely by fall up here. Because it's in the summer it's not as good as it is bad in the winter, if that makes sense.
I think, yeah, that does make sense. I also had heard the idea of using heat pumps instead of like resistive heating. I don't know if they're doing that these days, but
Yeah, there are some heat pumps in houses now, and water heaters and that sort of stuff. And then yeah, there is trying to think if anybody else besides, well, I'm sure there are. Actually, I've seen a graphic where there's other cars besides Teslas that have heat pumps. I just don't remember off the top of my head which ones have them.
No worries.
The Ionic 5 has those. All the Ionic line has, okay, has heat pumps in them. Okay, so that's good data point on that brand. Yeah, okay. Good, good. So any other questions, folks in the room or online? I mean, this is great having this kind of interchange. We'd really appreciate it, Jeremiah. And,
Yeah. I
yeah.
appreciate you having me. And yeah, I'm just sorry took me 3 months to get connected with you guys because I had my appendix out last month and then the month before. No. Yeah. Yeah, we've had some trials. So
Yeah. There's, yeah, that I'd call it an event. Yeah, having that kind of surgery.
How long will you be on the road each day of your road trip?
So this year it will just be one day. Last year, and I want to get back to this next year, but last year it was a full 2 days of driving. We started in, I'm trying to think, Madison, then we went over to Kenosha, up to so it was a full day of driving that first day. And the second day it was a little less, but I mean, we still did, I think it's on my website. I think it's, or it's on the event website, I should say. We did almost 800 miles of driving over 2 days. So mostly, it was pretty mixed actually. Some 4-lane, 70 mile an hour and some 2-lane, 60 mile an hour. I think next year what we're going to do though is have because we have scenic byways, they're called.
Nice. Yeah.
In Wisconsin, there's one sort of, we like to do this. I don't know if you can see so this is Green Bay.
Yeah.
It's yeah. So this part of the state is you can go up one side and come down the other side of this thumb part. And that's a scenic byway. I think we're going to hit up that next year. So it's that type of stuff where I think it's going to take more time if we, plan that sort of thing instead of just interstate.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay. Thanks for the question. Yeah. Anything else folks would like to know? All right. We've got your contact info so folks could ask you later.
All right.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much.
All right. Keep up the good work there, Jeremiah, and we'll be in touch.
All righty. Sounds great. Thanks again for having me.
Yep. Thanks. Okay. So at the beginning, I covered some of the stuff that's coming up, but most importantly, folks, if you can make it out with your vehicles for the Wings and Wheels on September 20th, that is really fun. It's nice interacting. There's a lot of folks that just come not even knowing that it's Wings and Wheels. They're bringing their family to the air part of the museum. And so it's just really nice to go on out there. And so that's later in September. Hopefully the temperatures will be down a bit and everything. So, all right, we'll see everybody second Thursday of September. All right, thanks everybody.